The film takes place in 1962, when the United States and the Soviet Union are at odds. There is a rumor in America that the Soviets will drop a nuclear bomb anytime soon, prompting many citizens to construct a secret bunker in their home. Dr. Calvin Weber, an eccentric scientist, is one of those citizens, and after months of hard work, he has built an advanced fallout bunker in his backyard, complete with all the amenities needed to survive a nuclear war. Calvin throws a party at his house one day and invites several of his colleagues to participate. While everyone is having a good time, President John F. Kennedy declares on live television that they are planning a secret mission against the Soviets. This frightens Calvin, and he believes the war will begin soon. As a result, he dismisses all of the visitors and rushes to his secret bunker with his pregnant wife, Helen. In the meantime, an aircraft flying over the city suffers a mechanical failure. It slams into Calvin's home, completely destroying it. Calvin deduces that nuclear war has begun inside the bunker and immediately seals the door. He then tells his wife that the door will not open for another 35 years because nuclear particles take the same amount of time to normalize in the atmosphere. The Webers' neighbors and authorities believe they were killed in the crash because the house was completely destroyed. With each passing day, the couple begins to adapt to life inside the bunker. While Calvin is at ease, Helen is uneasy and constantly concerned about her family and friends. Helen's water breaks one day, and she gives birth to a son. The couple is overjoyed to have a child, whom they name Adam. The following scene shows a larger view of their bunker. It has enough supplies to last 35 years, including a fish tank, fuel, a well-equipped lounge area, and a food mini-mart. Calvin homeschools his son and teaches him about American history as time passes. He wishes his son could one day restore the country to its former glory. The film then jumps ahead to the summer of 1965, when a group of construction workers cleans up Calvin's wreckage and builds a diner. After another 10 years, it is now the autumn of 1975. Adam has matured into a kind and generous young man who enjoys spending time with his parents. He attends boxing classes with his father and dance classes with his mother on a regular basis. Meanwhile, the diner transforms into a pizzeria, then a nightclub. Calvin continues to educate his son on various topics in the basement. He discusses the stock market and teaches French and Latin. Calvin compliments his son's incredible sense of humor as they talk. Calvin one day gives Adam a collection of his baseball cards and explains sports to him. The film then jumps ahead to the summer of 1995, when Calvin and Helen celebrate their son's 33rd birthday. Adam is now an adult who wishes to find a partner. Next, it's 1997, and the bunker has reached maturity. After 35 years, the bunker's door finally unlocks itself, and the family excitedly goes to check. Calvin insists that they wait until the night and let him check first, because they are unfamiliar with the outside world. The diner above the bunker has now become a home for beggars. While the beggars are drinking, the ground begins to shake violently, and they believe it is an earthquake. However, Calvin has returned to the surface wearing a radiation suit, and upon seeing him, one of the beggars falls unconscious. Following this, Calvin returns to his old neighborhood, only to discover that it has completely changed. He sees people pointing guns at him and even stumbles into an adult video store. He becomes concerned when he notices that his neighborhood has deteriorated and returns to the bunker. At the dinner table, he tells his family that, while the ground above is breathable, it has devolved into a post-apocalyptic wasteland of irradiated mutants. As a result, they must continue to live underground. Helen, who has grown tired of living in the bunker, begins arguing. She mentions that no matter who is above, she wants Adam to come out of their shell and see the blue skies, touch the oceans, and visit the mountains. Despite the motivational speech, Calvin insists on staying underground, but while arguing, he has a heart attack. With supplies running low and Calvin becoming ill, Helen wants Adam to go outside and get whatever they need for the next 2 years. She hands him a grocery list and tells him that it would be wonderful if he could find a girl who isn't a mutant. Calvin warns Adam not to enter the adult video store before leaving, claiming that it contains dangerous levels of radiation. In reality, he is simply attempting to keep his son away from vulgarity. Adam packs his handbag and leaves the bunker for the first time after a while. On the surface, he encounters Melker, the beggar who met his father the night before. While Adam is marveling at the outside world, Melchior begins to worship Calvin and the elevator through which he and Adam exited. Melchior regards them as divine forces intervening in his life to alter his fate. Meanwhile, Adam finally sees the blue sky above and waves to the people in the streets for the first time. He is surprised to see a woman of color and greets her enthusiastically. Next, he comes across the same adult video store that his father had warned him about. So he quickly covers his nose and urges others to do the same. Later, Adam boards a bus, but he is terrified of the vehicle's movement. He speaks according to what he has been taught, but this does not appear to fit with his current way of life. The passengers on the bus think he's insane, and the bus driver even gives him a strange look. After some time, Adam arrives at a grocery store and strolls around, picking up the items his mother had listed for him. When he goes to buy meat, the butcher informs him that if he places a larger order, it will be delivered directly to his house. When Adam hears the word house, he realizes he has forgotten how to get back to his bunker. Worried, he searches the city for the location of his bunker but finds no trace of it. His money is almost gone by this point, so he tries to sell his father's classic baseball cards at a hobby shop. Adam tries to sell the cards for a surprisingly low price, but the store owner thinks he's crazy and offers to buy the entire pack for just $500. Eve, the shop assistant, sees the two at that precise moment and intervenes to prevent the owner from cheating. She tells Adam that each of his cards is at least $6,000 in price because they are so extremely rare. She then yells at her boss and immediately quits. As he watches this, Adam is immediately smitten with her. He asks Eve to take him to the Holiday Inn restaurant after leaving the store so that he can follow his mother's instructions. Eve initially rejects, but when Adam offers to give her 2 cards in exchange, she agrees. Soon after, the two arrive at the hotel, but Eve returns home before Adam can say anything. The next morning, Adam receives a phone call from Eve, who invites him to the lounge area. She has apparently come to return his card because she feels guilty. She tries to leave after returning the card, but Adam asks her to assist in the purchase of supplies in exchange for $1,000 per week as her pay. Eve agrees, and they purchase truckloads of supplies because Adam needs to ensure that the supplies last at least 2 years. Later, he asks Eve to assist him in finding a wife who is not a mutant. In the following scene, Adam meets Eve's gay housemate and best friend, Troy, who is naturally curious. He inquires about Adam's hometown, and the latter lies, claiming that he is originally from Alaska and has come here on business. Eve and Troy later give Adam a fashion makeover and take him skateboarding. Next, Adam sees the ocean for the first time, and he eagerly dives into the water to enjoy himself. He also goes to a baseball game and exclaims with joy that he finally understands what his father was talking about. One day, it begins to rain, and Adam experiences rainwater for the first time in his life. Eve begs him to return to the house, but Adam wants to keep feeling good. He hugs Eve tightly out of nowhere, implying that he is enjoying his life in the real world. Eve and Troy take Adam to a 1940s swing-style nightclub later that evening in search of a wife. They advise him to approach women as himself. Surprisingly, Adam attracts the attention of several women, including Eve's arch enemy Sophie. Eve becomes uneasy when he and Sophie begin to get along and drags Adam away to a table. Shen then advises him to look for his Wheats girl rather than Sophie. After a while, Adam approaches a girl, and when he asks her for a dance, they quickly become friends. Adam wows the crowd with his exceptional dancing skills in no time, thanks to years of practice inside the bunker. Meanwhile, a jealous Eve reconnects with her ex-boyfriend, who inserts himself into an argument with Adam. He soon regrets it, however, when Adam shows off his boxing skills, having trained every day with his father at the bunker. Eve becomes irritated by all of the commotion and decides to abandon Adam and return home. Troy arrives later and informs Eve that Adam has left the club with Sophie. When Eve hears this, she storms out of the house and into her car to find Adam. Adam knocks on the door just as she is about to drive away, startling her to death. Following this, the two return to the house, where Adam explains that he politely rejected Sophie because all he could think about was Eve. He then expresses his feelings for her, and the two kiss He decides to tell Eve about his past now that Eve is by his side. He reveals that he and his family spent 35 years in a fallout bunker and are now seeing the outside world for the first time. He also expresses his desire to marry Eve and take her to the bunker so that they can live happily ever after. Eve, on the other hand, thinks he's insane and asks him to leave. The next day, while learning to drive a truck with Troy, Adam notices the adult video store from earlier and finally discovers the location of his bunker. He rushes back to Eve's house to inform her of his discovery, but he notices two psychiatrists waiting for him there. Adam initially cooperates but flees after handing over the key to his hotel room to Eve and Troy. He requests that they take all of his credit cards and pay his hotel bill before driving away in a truck. After a while, Troy and Eve arrive at Adam's hotel room and discover clothing, toothpaste, and other 1960s-era items. They also come across some valuable stock certificates from Adam's father, which are now worth millions. As a result, they conclude that Adam is not insane and that he has been telling the truth the entire time. Meanwhile, Adam returns home after 2 weeks away from home. He hugs his parents and tells them how wonderful the world has become. Soon after, Melker and his friends assist Adam in loading the supplies into the bunker. Eve and Troy, on the other hand, try and fail to locate Adam's underground bunker. Eve notices Adam outside the adult video store as they return home late at night. She immediately calls out his name and gets out of the car. They kiss and embrace, and Adam takes her to meet his parents. Calvin and Helen are impressed with Eve, but Adam requests that his father wait for 2 months while he makes plans outside. During this time, Adam and Eve sell their stocks in order to build a new country home that is identical to his previous home. They intend to gradually bring Calvin and Helen to the surface and begin a new life with them. Adam's parents arrive at their new home after a few months. They are astounded to witness their son doing so much for them. While Helen and Eve are preparing dinner for the family, Adam informs his father that there was no atomic war and that the bomb was not a bomb, but rather a plane that crashed into their house. He also reveals that the Soviet Union collapsed without a war. Calvin, on the other hand, remains unconvinced and mocks his son's revelation. The film concludes with Calvin planning to construct a new fallout shelter, while Eve watches from the kitchen window and plays with her engagement ring. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this channel grow. Turn on notifications for newest video. Thank you and see you next time.